Thursday the 28th of June 2012, the Great Storm, or as it's known now, Thunder Thursday. I was at the Silverlink waiting for my son to arrive. We waited about a half an hour and then we called him. He said he'd gone through a large deep body of water. The car had stalled and he was worried about his brakes, so he decided that he'd park up at the farmhouse. The weather had got progressively worse. It had started off as a little rain shower, then some thunder and lightning, and eventually it resembled the only other storm I'd seen like it was in a hurricane when I was in Houston. We told him we'd come to Middle Engine Lane, but we didn't realise the problems there were with the traffic. It took us nearly an hour and a half to get to him. We could have got out and walked, but there was a problem, we might have drowned. We tested his brakes, they were okay, so we decided we'd drive to Grandma's in Howden. It was much closer than trying to get home. So we set off in convoy. We thought we'd go via the coast road, but as we turned onto it, we could see it was chock-a-block full of traffic and going nowhere. It moved very, very slowly. Eventually we came off in St David's Road. That was nearly just as bad, but there was some movement. It was taking a very long time, and I'd been in the car now since about 1:30. I was facing a real crisis. I'd recently had medical treatment, which meant I needed to go to the toilet more frequently. I was facing a dilemma. Should I stand outside the car and lean against it and pretend I was looking at the wheel, there's something wrong with it? My wife told me she'd be disgusted if I did that. I thought I'd be faced with the problem of sitting inside and accepting all the consequences. My son, with no sympathy at all, was disgusted with that. So I was left with only one other option, to go to the nearest house and place myself on their charity and ask to use the toilet. I went to the nearest house, knocked on the door, and a lady with a little boy came and spoke to me. I told her what my problem was and pointed to my wife to try and reassure her. Unfortunately, my wife was waving and she had this sort of gruesome face, and it looked more like she was trying to tell the woman not to put up with me. I explained my dilemma, she let me in, and she pointed to the toilet at the top of the stairs. I walked up the stairs, followed by the little boy, who seemed to distrust me. She was very kind and I thanked her profusely, and then we set off in our journey to reach Grandma's, which took us another 2.5 hours. The following day I went back to thank her and took her some chocolates. I went around the same time. I presumed that she might be in and she might remember me. Well, difficult to forget, I suppose. She opened the door and she said to me, "Oh, not you again." And then I heard her husband shout out from the further inside the house, "Tell him to get one of them bags he can carry with him if he wants to go again." She was much more placatory and thanked me and said it was very kind of me to come round. And I thought, thank God, she's had a cup of human kindness, which she was prepared to dispense to anybody. But it really was very kind, and I appreciate how much risk she had taken. There's a couple of morals to this story. The first we learned is that if you drive through a large body of water, don't expect the insurance company to pay, because they won't. And there is always someone who can entertain themselves, even in the most dire situation. There's a new sport now in Wallsend, which is likely to seek Olympic recognition. It's called street swimming, and apparently they're introducing the road kayak races in Whitley Bay. Lots of these pictures appeared, but my abiding memory is the noise sitting in the Silverlink in the car. I was okay with the thunder and lightning. I was in a Faraday cage. But when it rained, at some stage I thought with the rain and with the hail, it would actually come through the roof. Quite an interesting day, not what I'd expected.